HTML validation helps us avoid errors by checking the syntax of our markup. So we're going to check our HTML short for Hypertext Markup Language, using the validator.w3.org website. So there's three different ways that we can check our HTML. So we could provide it with a URI, a Uniform Resource Identifier. We could upload a file, which is what we're going to be doing today, or we could just directly paste some HTML in here and then click check. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and it is greatly appreciated. So anyway, if we go to our code, now one thing with the editor, we're going to be receiving, what line and what column where some of these warnings or errors are occurring. So we want to make sure we can see this blue bar here really good. So I went ahead and increase the size of it. So as we can see, we're currently on line 9, column 8. Went ahead and increased the zoom level to 3, just so that way mobile people could see that a little bit better. Anyway, inside of our validator folder, we have two different files here, fix.html and no validation.html. So they're currently still the same, but we're going to be fixing the fix.html, so that way when we push it up to GitHub, it has everything fixed in it already. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and give us a little more room there. And if we go over to the browser, and if we just take a look at our file, it still looks good, but that doesn't mean that there's not some problems there. So the browser might be making some guesses on our behalf, trying to fix some things. But anyway, let's go and upload our file. So, and check. All right. Warning: consider adding a lang attribute, lang short for language, to the HTML start tag to declare the language of the document. All right, so our HTML start tag, as you've probably guessed, is going to be near the top, just right after the doc type declaration. But anyway, let's still use this information it's giving us here to find where that's at. So from line 1, column 16 to line 2, column 6. So if we go back to our code and we want to make sure we're fixing the fix.html, line 1, so here's line 1, as you can see. So line 1, we go over to 16. So the end of this doc type declaration, we have the start of our HTML. So at line 2, column 6, we're ending our HTML opening tag, but we haven't specified the language. So we can go ahead and enter that, lang short for language, and we're going to put EN for English. All right, let's go back to look at our errors. Okay, so the next 3 are actually going to deal with the same thing. So in tag P, seen, but there were open elements. This one was saying, hey, there was an unclosed element. And this one says there's no EM element in scope, but a EM in tag seen. So anyway, let's look at the first one. So 14, line 14, column 73, also on line 14 is where it ends, but it's on column 76. So let's go there. 14, around 14. Here is 73. So this is the start of our ending p tag. So here's our ending p tag and our starting p tag. So line 14, column 73, and then line 14, column 76. So from here to here. So we're finishing this p tag, but we have a problem here. So the end tag p is seen, but there was an open element. So here is our open element, EM, short for emphasis. We have an element here, which is contained in it, which is fine. This one, a mistake is made, and the closing EM tag was put over here. So that caused a problem. And it also says, hey, it found this. It was unclosed. So it's a second error for the same thing. Was the second error. So that's our unclosed element, never gets closed before the paragraph closes. And then we have another one, was, if we go back to it here, line 14 on 70, column 77. There we go. So we are starting our closing EM tag, and there was no opening because the P element had already closed. Go here and cut that, put it here, and we'll go ahead and hit save. All right. So that took care of these three because it was the same one. Unclosed, the scope, and then this one, we had an ending EM end tag, but we didn't have an opening one inside element because the paragraph had already closed. Okay, it says here, attribute HRE not allowed on element A at this point. So let's go ahead and go from line 20 to column 5. Line 20, and we go to column 5. So looking at our A element here, we have a problem here. So what happened here is this is not allowed because this is not an attribute. We meant to put href. So, one thing important about making sure that links will work is that it can affect how search engines rank you. So you want to make sure that all your links are working properly and that the web crawlers can do their job and rate your site so it can get indexed. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and hit save there. So let's go ahead and go back here and let's upload our fixed file and let's check it. Document checking completed. No errors or warnings to show. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention earlier, if we go back over to our web page, we can see the emphasis element here and our emphasis element here. Now, remember, this is the no validation.html. So this is the one that we haven't even changed, but we haven't refreshed it anyway. As you can see, the emphasis element is still working here, even though we were getting those errors. So even if it looks good on the page, be aware that sometimes the browser will try and help you out, but it may not look the same. The DOM might not be created the same, so it might not look the same in every single browser. So it's still good. It's not enough just to check to see how it looks in one browser. So anyway, if we go back to our code, even though it says document checking completed, no errors or warnings to show, go back to our code. We actually have 3 paragraphs here. We have our first one, we have our second one with opening and closing tags, but the second one here, it has a opening tag, but we don't have a closing tag. Now this is technically optional, but it is still considered best practice to have a closing tag. So even though we didn't put a closing tag, it's still closed, and it's in the browser, it still looks like a paragraph with the space in between. Hang around. We're going to show you what you need to know to add lists to your web pages. See you there.